Hi folks! In this video I'm going to assemble a quilted holiday pocket placemat. Keep watching! So before we get started assembling this pocket placemat, I wanted to show you what materials you're going to need in case you're using an Explore in my sewing group and you want to cut this by hand, or you just want to know approximately how much fabric you need to create one of these. So this first piece that I've cut is the width twice by the height twice, not of this backing piece, but of the finished quilted placemat. And there's a terrific video by Jenny Doan from Missouri Star Quilt on how to measure and cut your binding and attach it. So I'll link that video by Jenny Doan to this one. I'll put it in the description under the video. So the next thing you have is two pieces that are 1.5 by 4.5. I've pressed this and folded it in half and in half again. These are going to be the trim on the pocket that we're going to sew onto the pocket. We have two of those. You have 8 pieces that are 4.5-inch squares. This is going to be the top and bottom of your placemat. We'll put those aside. This is 4.5 by 12. It's your pocket. It will be folded in half and we'll assemble that. This is 2.5 by 16 and again 2.5 by 16. These are the stripes that go in the center of the placemat. And then we have the backing fabric. The finished placemat is approximately 12 by 16. So I've cut the backing fabric 16 by 20. I've added 4 inches so that you have room for it to shift or become smaller as you're quilting. And I've also cut my batting. It's cotton batting. I've cut it also 16 by 20. You can use cotton batting or Insulbright if you want something that heat protects, or you can use fusible fleece, anything like that, that will give you some body to the placemat. You wouldn't want to use, well, you could use a heavy interfacing, but that would make the placemat more solid. It wouldn't have the same texture. So let's go ahead and set the backing aside. We don't need it yet. Okay. So we'll go ahead and start to assemble. So you're going to take your 8 squares of 4.5 and we'll lay them out. There's another one for. We're going to have our white stripe. I think I'll put the red on the top because the pocket will finish here. Push that up. And our 4 squares for the bottom of the placemat. There we go. So I'm going to go forward and assemble this row and the bottom row, and I'll be back to show you the next step. So here we are, ready to go to the next step. I've sewn the top and bottom rows. I've assembled them with 1/4-inch seam pressed to one side. And now we're going to sew the red to the bottom of the top and the white to the top of the bottom. We're going to sew straight along with the 1/4-inch seam allowance, and I'll be back to show you what we do next. Okay, so we're on to the next step. This is a super easy project because you don't have any seams to nest. So you don't have to worry about your lines matching up perfectly. It's going to be easy for you to do. So you can see that I have my 1/4 inch seam where I sewed all the way along, and I've pressed it towards the darker fabric. Now I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to sew again a 1/4 inch seam all the way along to attach the two pieces together. Okay, so now we have the body of our placemat assembled. It's that easy and that quick to do. You can see that I've pressed these seams towards the darker area so that we don't have seam allowance showing through. And our next step is to assemble the pocket. So you want to take your 4.5 by 12-inch fabric. Let's move this out of the way. Your 4.5 by 12-inch fabric and your two pieces that are 1.5 by 4.5. You've pressed them in half and in half again. And these are going to go on both ends, one on each end. So we're just going to clip that in place so it doesn't move while we're stitching. I'll put a clip on both ends. There we go. One on this side. And on this side. Okay, so we're going to sew just along the top, a top stitch. And then once that's done, we're going to fold our pocket over and over again. There we go. Line these up against each other. And I'm going to sew across the top and down the side, along the bottom and up the side. So I'm going to first attach the trim to the length for the pocket. I'll give you a quick view of how that looks and then I'll assemble the pocket. Okay, so we've got the trim added to our fabric for the pocket. We're going to turn it good sides together and have the trim butt up against each other. I need to trim away all this excess. I'm going to clip it here. And on this side. And we're going to sew down both sides and across the bottom and then turn it good side out. And I'll be back to show you the result. Okay, so I've sewn a 1/4 inch seam on both sides and across the bottom, and then I cut off some of the bulk from the seam allowance. And we're just going to go ahead and turn this right side out. And we'll have our little pocket done. Go. We have to make sure we push out all our corners. Nice and neat. I'm going to use the end of a paintbrush to push them out. And there's our pocket. Of course, it needs to be pressed before it's attached to the quilt. So we'll set that aside and we'll go on to the next step. On this step, we're going to assemble the body of the placemat before attaching the pocket. So we have our back fabric and our batting or infusible fleece, whatever it is you like to use. I'm going to center this right here so that we have this overhang, so that if our quilt shifts, I'm going to add pins to mine to make sure it doesn't move. And I think I'm just going to do the same as the first one. I just did stitch in the ditch on the 4 squares and along these lengths. And I think I will do this one the same way. Twirl our pins. This is a super easy placemat for anyone who wants to start quilting, or someone who wants to make a lot of them. It's very quick to make, easy to make. Just going to check the back to make sure it's staying nice and flat, and it is. So we'll continue. Put some along here. Probably don't need this many pins in it, but I'll keep it in place. So if you are comfortable with machine quilting, of course you can do any pattern that you like. You can do stippling or meander, or do snowflakes or flowers, whatever it is that you like. And you can also use this blank area to add an applique. Maybe you want to add Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas or something to that effect. That would be cute too. Okay, one more pin. That's a lot of pins, but it will stay nice and neat as I quilt it. Check the back again. Looks good. I don't think anything will move around. So I'm going to go ahead and do the stitch in the ditch and press my pocket, because once the quilting is done, we're going to add our pocket to the front. Okay, I'll be back. So we're back again. I've done the stitch in the ditch all the way along. It's not perfect, but it's going to do just fine. I don't do a lot of stitch in the ditch, so sometimes I get a little wayward on it. We're going to attach our pocket. I've pressed it all nice and flat, right side out, and we're going to attach our pocket. Important to remember that you're going to be binding this, so you want to make sure that you leave enough room around the edge so that the binding doesn't end up overlapping your pocket. So you want to leave some space. Enough space at the top for a coffee cup, and room for your binding on this side. Okay, I think I'm going to put it right about there. Just going to put a pin through it, get a longer pin so it doesn't move. Keep it nice and straight. And I've changed my thread in my machine so that I'm using beige in the bobbin, so this won't show through the back, but I'm going to use red on top so we don't have this bright thread all the way around the red. But you can do whatever you like. If you want the thread to show as an extra decorative feature, that's completely up to you. I'm going to sew straight along the top on the red and down both sides and across the bottom to attach my pocket. And I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got the pocket all attached. I've sewn across that little red top and down both sides and across the bottom. That's all attached. So what we're going to do now is just square up our block and attach our binding. So we're just going to trim off all that excess and make it nice and neat. I think I need a new blade in that one. There we go. I love these Cricut rulers. They're such nice quality and they're so straight and accurate. There we go. I'm just lining this up, eyeing it to get it nice and straight. Get that a little straighter. That looks good. Trim that all off. And there we go. All nice and neat. So now I'm going to attach my binding all the way around, and this placemat with the pocket will be finished. So for adding the binding, again, I'm going to refer you to the Jenny Doan video. The link will be in the post with my link, and it will be in the description under this video. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll find it helpful. Please like it and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and thank you for watching.